Hello everyone, I am Dr. Rajesh and today I am with you with some fundamental concepts of mechanics. So today firstly we will study what is the mechanics. Mechanics is that branch of science that deals with the state of motion or state of rest of a object. So if I say that it deals with the state of rest and state of motion, that branch of science that deals with state of motion or state of rest, that branch is called mechanics. Means the object could be in motion or it could be in state of rest. So the branch of science that deals with the state of motion and state of rest of object. So here we could also write of objects. Okay, and the branch, if I divide, it has further two branches. The branch of science that deals with the state of motion of the objects, then that is called dynamics, and the branch of science that deals with the state of rest of objects is called statics. So if I bifurcate, if I divide it further into two branches, first is static and second one is dynamics. So dynamics means state of rest, or body can also be in state of equilibrium while at rest. So dynamics is that branch of science that deals with the objects or the action of the forces, action of the forces while body is in motion, or it could be said that state of motion. So I will illustrate it with an example. Let us say this is a ball, and this ball is moving in this direction. Say this is the direction of motion, and it is acted upon by different forces. Say this force, say F1, it is acted by this force, say F2, it is acted by this force, say F3, and motion is in this particular direction. Then the branch of science that deals with the forces, like forces F1, F2, F3, and the in the forward direction force of the objects that are in motion, then that branch of science is called dynamics. So what about statics? Statics, let us say that we have another ball, say this is another ball, and this ball is at rest. At rest could be possible through that, or that no force is acting, so in that case nothing to study. But if forces are acting such that one force is in that direction, another force is in this direction, and one force is in this direction, another force is in this direction, so net their equilibrium, net their resultant force in equilibrium is 0. So we can say that body is in equilibrium. So a body is said to be in equilibrium if it continues in the state of rest or in the state of uniform motion. It could be state of rest or state of uniform motion. So that is called, now let us say this force is F1, this force is F2, this force is F3, and this force is F4. So net resultant is 0. So there is still some force that is doing the work upon this body, and that work is at infinitesimal level. So that work is called virtual work, that will be dealing further while we will come at this topic. So the study of these forces while body is at rest or continues to be in state of uniform motion, then the study of the force is acting upon the body, like study of like these forces, is called the statics. And while the body is in motion, like this body is in motion in the forward direction, and these are the forces acting upon the body, then the study of the these forces when acting upon the body is called dynamics. While the body is at rest, then the study of the forces acting upon the body when the body is in the rest, so is called statics. So we must be able to grasp the idea that what is statics and dynamics, because anyone will like the name of our paper in this BSc third semester is static. So firstly we should know the meaning of static, what is statics, because anyone could ask us that leave anything aside, just tell me the definition of statics. So we should be able to elaborate that what is statics and how it is differentiated from dynamics, and both statics and dynamics together collectively called mechanics. So these definitions are really very important, and besides the definition, I would also like to discuss with you that what is a particle. A particle like is an object of infinitesimally small length and negligible mass. Like this is a particle, this is a particle, so these all are particles. Okay, that has two properties. One is infinitesimally small length and another one is negligible mass. So these are the particles. Similarly, if we go further, we can that is infinitely small negligible mass. So next is we study the definition of rigid body. What is rigid body? Like this, we have a body said to be rigid body if the distance between its constituent particles always remains the same. Like these are the constituent particles. These are the constituent particles, and distance, this is the distance, this is the distance, this distance, their distance, like this distance always remains the same irrespective of the amount of force we are applying, like we are applying these forces upon it, and any large amount of force we apply upon it, the distance between its constituent particles always remains the same, always remains the same. So this is the definition of a rigid body. So and if we say that a rigid body is also a body that do not change its shape and size, so that body is also called a rigid body. Shape and size remain the same. Shape and size always remains the same. That is another, but this definition is more scientific. This definition is somewhat only around the surface, but this definition is intrinsic definition. This definition is intrinsic definition, and this definition states that the distance between the constituent particles always remains the same. So this distance always remains the same. And we could also write distance between the constituent particles. So this is the rigid body. Okay, so next we will study what is mass. If I say what is the definition of mass, mass is the matter contained in the body. In the body is mass. Okay, so matter contained in the body is called mass. So like these are the particles contained in the body, like this is the particle, this is the particle, these all are the particles contained in the body. Therefore this constitutes the mass of the body. So mass is the matter. The what matter means what it contains, what it made up of is the matter, and the matter contained in the body is the mass. So units of mass are, SI units are kilogram, these are kilogram, CGS are gram, and FPS pounds, it will be pounds. Okay, so that is pounds. This is SI, this one is SI, CGS, FPS system. You have already studied this system. So next we will study what is the definition of force. So let us come here and study the definition of force. So here you write force. What do you mean by force? So force is a push or pull that either changes or tend to change the position of the body. Now this is very important, push or pull. Like this is the body, this is the body resting upon the ground. Say this is the ground. So what is push? Say this is the some human with his hands is in this direction. So this type is called push. And if say this is the some human and this is some rope, and with his hands it is with this rope, it is getting this body move in this direction. So this is called pull. So force is a push or pull that either changes. Either changes means if we apply a push or pull upon this body, like say that we are applying a pull of say 10 Newton, and we are able to displace this body from this position to say this comes over here with our efforts, this comes over here. So this is displaced by that much distance. Then we say that we have applied force upon it. So this is called, and say this is the person. I am not that good in drawing, but I will still try. So it is able to bring this from this position to this position, then we say that force is applied. But say if we are trying to push or pull the mountain, so we are not able to displace it even a single inch. So that doesn't mean that we have not applied any force. We have applied a force. Let us say this is the say this is the mountain, this is the mountain, and this is the small human being. Trying to push this with his hands, but it is not able to, and say it is applying say 100 Newton, but not able to move the mountain. But it doesn't mean that he is not applying force. Force is being applied. So it is either able to change the state of the motion, or the body continues to be in the same state. While it was in at rest, it continues to be in rest, because to displace a mountain you need the millions tons, a million Newton of force, but he is applying only say 100 Newton. So before this mountain, this 100 Newton is nothing, but still force is being applied. So in this case it is not able to change the position, but it is tending to change. So in this case, if I write, it is tending to change the position, but not successful, but still it is standing, it is force is being applied. But in this case, if we see it, he was successfully in displacing this body from here to here. So he was successful either change, or it here he was successful, if I say, in changing the position of the body, successful. in changing the position of the body. So, this is the first case, able to change. This is the second case, tend to change. But in both the cases, force is being applied. So, push or pull is being done. So, force if we say is either push or pull, that either changes or tend to change the position of the body. So, that is very important definition that you must grasp the idea, because anyone could ask you that what is force. So, you will simply say it is force is a push or pull, that either changes or tend to change the position of the body. Next concept we will study is that of weight. So, what is weight? If say this is a ball placed, or you can say that falling, and ball is having mass m, following under gravity with acceleration due to gravity g, or is attracted towards the center of the center of the earth, then how much force it is being attracted towards the earth? We know that force having formula ma, where m is the mass, g is acceleration due to gravity, in SI unit mass is units are kilogram, and acceleration due to gravity is meter per second square. Fine. So, these are the units. So, what will be the weight of this body? It will be equal to mg. So, mass placed under gravity is the weight. Mass placed under gravity is called weight. So, this is the definition. Or a mass of say m, say this ball, weight is that much force with which a mass of m is attracted towards the center of the earth. So, weight will be mgh. So, weight is mgh if a mass of m is attracted towards the earth with a force of under the gravitation force of gravity. Okay. So, if we say what are the units of force? In SI, its unit is Newton. In CGS, its units are dynes, and in FPS, its units are poundals. So, we know F is equal to MA. So, how will you define 1 Newton force? When mass is 1 in SI unit 1 kilogram and acceleration is 1 meter per second square. So, this force will be 1 into 1 is equal to 1 Newton. So, how will you define it? You will simply define it as a force is said to be 1 Newton if it is able to produce an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in a body of 1 kilogram. Simple is that, isn't it? So, this is very simple. A force is said to be 1 Newton if it is able to produce an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in a body of 1 kilogram. And how will you define one dyne force? If I say that you have to define one dyne of force. So once again we will write the formula for force. F is equal to ma. So in this case mass will be 1 gram and acceleration due to gravity will be 1 centimeter per second square. So how will define one dyne? So a force is called one dyne if it is able to produce an acceleration of 1 centimeter per second square in a body of 1 kilogram. It is very simple, isn't it? It's very simple. So you should thoroughly like that you should try to grasp the ideas rather than memorizing, cramming the definitions, cramming the definition of one dyne, cramming the definition of 1 Newton, what is force. You should try to play with the concepts rather than grasping or memorizing them. So make mathematics as a fun. So how will define poundal? When you say that when is force 1 poundal? So if 1 pound mass and acceleration is 1 feet per second square. If it is able to produce an acceleration of 1 feet per second square in a body of 1 pound, then we say that force is 1 poundal force. Force is 1 poundal force. And the relation, you know what is the relation between, if I say the Newton and dyne, it is very easy that 1 Newton is equal to 1 Newton force is equal to 10 raised to the power 5 dynes. So this is the relation, and it is very important relation and mostly used for conversion formulae. For conversion formulae between SI and CGS. So you must take it in consideration. So this is the definition of weight, and what are the units of forces we have studied. So how will you in absolute unit of forces, while there is we take no system of measurement like SI, CGS or FPS, we define 1 unit of force. So in that case we will simple define that is called absolute unit, like F is equal to ma. So mass is 1 unit. Now I am not writing the definition of writing the units of mass, either kilogram, gram or something like that. I am only writing unit mass, and acceleration is also unit acceleration. So when you say that what is unit force in absolute units, absolute means there is now no system of measurement, we are generally talking. So in this case F is equal to 1 into 1 is equal to 1. So a force is said to be unit force if it produces a unit acceleration in a body of unit mass. So here we have not taken any unit in consideration, but still we are able to define the definition of unit force in the absolute terms, and in the absolute terms it is given. So this force is called absolute force, and this is absolute unit force. What is the definition? Once again I am reciting the definition. A body is said to be under the influence of 1 unit force if it is able to produce an acceleration of unit, it is able to produce unit acceleration in a body of unit mass. So these units are called absolute unit. So further absolute unit, if taken in terms of SI we will get Newton, if taken in terms of CGS we will get dyne, and if taken in FPS we will get poundals. So these are absolute units. So if I write it here, it will be more apt. Absolute units of force. So these are the absolute units of force. So in this lecture we have studied the concept of mechanics. So if I say that in this unit we have once again I am revising the things. We have studied the concept of mechanics that deals with the state of motion or state of rest. Then static is state of rest or state of equilibrium while at rest. So there is no change, state remain the same. Dynamic state of motion. So that we illustrated with the help of examples. So next we studied that what is rigid body. A body is said to be rigid if its distance between its constituent particle always remain the same. Then we studied what is mass. Mass is the matter contained in the body. Then we studied what is force. Force is push or pull that either changes or tend to change the position. Then we studied the definition of force. Then we studied what is weight. Then the definition of weight, the mass placed under gravity is called weight, or the mass m attracted towards the center, then that is called weight, that is it is given by mg. So then we studied the units of force, which are SI units, dyne, poundal, then absolute units. Absolute units are further given as SI. If taken in SI, it becomes dynes. If taken in CGS, it becomes poundal. If taken in FPS. So this is all we have studied in this lecture, and I hope that you will be able to grasp the basic definitions studied in this lecture, and I hope that you will study and will make this definition to have a permanent impression in your mind, because these definitions will be very frequently used in this paper and in future if you will take the further study, higher study in mathematics. So that's all I have from this lecture, and if you have any questions you could drop it in the comment section. I will definitely be answering your queries, and till then take care, bye bye. And if you have liked the lecture, please like, subscribe, share and comment. This is Dr. Rajesh saying goodbye, take care, bye bye, and see you soon.